SM Hattiesburg. It's time for the Southern Miss Student Media Weekly Wrap Up. The Southern Miss Student Media Weekly Wrap Up is a look at the events Southern Miss Student Media covered throughout the week and the events Southern Miss Student Media is working on for next week.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Andy Borelli, the editor of Student Prints here at Southern Miss, and welcome to the Southern Miss Weekly Wrap Up. I'm going to highlight some of the stuff that went over in student media this week, including the Student Prints and Southern Miss TV.
Sponsorship comes from Signature Magazine, the Pine Belt's original Seen and Be Seen magazine. Since 2006, Signature has been the Hub City source for arts, music, fashion, food, and more. Signature Magazine is published monthly and available at more than 200 locations throughout the Pine Belt. Signature is also available with the free Hub City Spokes app for Apple and Android phones. Signature Magazine, the Pine Belt's Seen and Be Seen magazine.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer.
In response to attacks against Asian Americans, Maddie Park raised over $250,000 to donate cab rides to the Asian community.
There is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Support the Asian community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Put a frog in boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in cool water and slowly heat it up, that frog will boil. As veterans, we tell ourselves the lie that we can handle anything. We let the water boil. You are not a frog. If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
All right, everybody, welcome back to this USM Weekly Wrap Up. Like I said, I'm Andy Borelli, or Andrew Borelli. You'll see my name in the paper sometimes as that. I am the editor of the student prints here at Southern Miss. This is my second time on the show, and I've got this week's copy of the student prints out. If you're on campus at Southern Miss, you can look for us in any major building, and hopefully within the next few weeks we'll have them in the dormitories too, so you can start finding them in there. Just want to summarize this week's paper. Front page, we just talked about the election. Big presidential election coming up next week, and I think there are a few senator spots open as well. So it'll be a big week. Had a panel come and speak to students and teachers over in Stout Hall last week. There's an article in there recapping that. It was hosted by Dr. Simpson and the folks at News You Need. Also, screening next week on Monday is the Dying to Vote documentary, which will be pretty fun at the Joe Paul Theater. Opening up and going through the paper, on our opinion page, we have my weekly opinion piece, which this week's kind of like last week's, just talking about the football team and what needs improving and such. And then another one is a topic that's as old as dust here at Southern Miss, because I found it in student prints dating all the way back to the early 50s, is parking. And I love the title of this one. The girl come up with a good one. It's "College is a Big Deal. Parking Shouldn't Be." And my opinion article was so long it's just carried on to the second page. Going over into campus news, we have a few big stories here. A highlight story of Hannah Scott back. We have a story from homecoming about the fountain sit and who won that. That was won by Lily Collins of Kappa Delta, of the Kappa Delta sorority. So she helped lead Team 6 to victory in the USM fountain sit, which kind of covered just Southern Miss trivia. Another big thing that went on this week in campus news is a story about Southern Miss internships. We also have a story in here about the Jimmy A. Payne Foundation, which is funding 17 different projects across Southern Miss. Continuing over into community news, the city of Hattiesburg has signed NIL partnerships with two athletes, from one from Southern Miss and one from William Carey. It's the first time that the city has ever chosen NIL ambassadors. And as many of you know, college athletics has changed a lot over the last few years with the addition of NIL, which says players can now be paid for their involvement in advertisements and such. We also see that Toby Barker, mayor of Hattiesburg, has won a tourism award. Moving over into sports, Southern Miss has lost to James Madison in Reed Stringer's first game. Southern Miss wins their first basketball game in an exhibition game against Jackson State. Scott Berry, legendary baseball coach, is chosen for the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame. The Southern Miss Golden Eagles baseball have announced their schedule for 2025, featuring games against Mississippi State and Ole Miss like usual, and then our Sun Belt games. And then finally, we have a thing just a little bit talk about Halloween in 2024. So go pick you up a copy of the Student Prince. We're going to duck out for a quick break. We'll be right back on the Weekly Wrap Up.
For Southern Miss Student Media, I'm Nishanika. Sometimes when I'm overwhelmed, I just want to stay in a quiet room with calming lights and a weighted blanket. And while I can't do that on campus, computer science majors will soon be able to. The School of Computing Sciences and Computing Engineering is now opening a new sensory room to help promote socialization and productivity among neurodivergent students. The department noticed that neurodivergent students often found it difficult to navigate the sensory-rich environment of college. Dr. Liz McGowan explains the purpose of the room.
So the room was originally created to give neurodiverse students within the computing science and computer engineering space to go if they, were experiencing sensory overload or, needed somewhere quiet, or, if they were anxiety or having issues like that. So
the room will be equipped with a range of sensory tools like weighted blankets, noise-canceling headphones, fidget toys, and calming lighting. Jessica Hillman, the assistant to the director of the USM School of Computing Sciences, explains that the room was made to help students manage anxiety and stress and foster social skills.
And I think the goals were, you couldn't say it better than this, the primary goal of this project is to create a sensory room that caters to the unique needs of the neurodiverse students. And our objectives are reducing the stress and anxiety, regulating sensory input, improving focus and attention, and fostering the development of social skills and relationships. I think that's key.
Students also seem excited about the room. Stephen Josie, a computer science major, expresses his views on the topic.
Having a sensory room would definitely help the students. It will especially help the individuals who have ADHD or who have problem focusing. And these days, like, distractions can bother us a lot. So having a room dedicated, having a room that helps us focus will definitely be a plus to the department.
I wish chemistry department would do that, but I will have to take care of my chemicals-induced headaches at home for now. For Southern Miss Student Media, I'm Nishanika.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Weekly Wrap Up. I'm Andy Borelli. I want to talk about something funny that SM2 did this week. With this week being, or with yesterday, Thursday, being Halloween, the folks at Southern Miss TV decided it'd be a good idea to host this week's show in their Halloween costumes. And it was it was a very interesting thing to see, with like sports anchor Gabe Calhoun dressed in his Steve Harvey outfit, which was pretty entertaining. We also saw other reporter Emily Blue dressed as a police officer, which was pretty interesting. Anchor Kennedy Drake was dressed as Daphne from Scooby-Doo. And it's things like that that make this job fun, whenever you can have fun with what you're doing. So, it makes it, I know I just said it, but it makes it a lot more fun whenever they let you enjoy your job like that. So, great episode by the folks at Southern Miss TV. I think that's all we got on that. We're going to step out for another quick break.
For Southern Miss Student Media, I'm Nishanika. Every time I went to the gym, I joked that it was named after a pain because it was a pain to go there. But no, it is named after one of USM's biggest funders, Jimmy A. Payne. Jimmy Payne, a dedicated Southern Miss alumnus from the class of 1964, has left a lasting mark on the university through his generous support. Some of the major infrastructures that Payne had shaped are Payne Center and Moffett Health Center. Since Payne's passing in 2015, his children Jonathan Payne and April Payne Null have been continuing his legacy. This year, the Jimmy A. Payne Foundation awarded $502,689 to Southern Miss to enhance its student environment. The grant will fund 17 vital projects across the campus. The latest round of funding from Jimmy A. Payne Foundation will support a wide range of projects. In academic affairs, it will provide financial support to students in need. The GAP Scholarship, which is funded by Jimmy A. Payne Foundation, is awarded to students in need, and the total grant and total grant recipients depend on how much grant is awarded that year. The scholarship is intended for juniors and seniors who need to finish college. Dr. Ashley Burnside, the director of the Center for Student Success, explains that the scholarship fills the gap between federal financial aid and what the student needs.
The intention of going and providing them basically financial assistance with what is basically there to be funding between what they have, a student is going and receiving for financial aid through their federal award scholarships and such, and then the gap that is in existence to subsist and live and do what they need to do as a student.
The funds will support several initiatives across campus. These include the Apple Design Lab, the Student Accessibility Services Testing Center, the Wellness Eagles program, and so on. The College of Business and Economic Development will use the funds for the hatchery, while the College of Arts and Sciences will benefit from the renovations to the USM Dance Studio. The grant will also help EHS Nest, the graduate school, and the library. Stace Mercier of the USM Foundation states that the impact of Jim's legacy resonates with every student, faculty member, and staff. For Southern Miss Student Media, I'm Nishanika.
Are you in a hurry? Well, I am. But as a paralyzed veteran, I had to overcome incredible challenges just to regain my independence and return to work. Finding a parking space shouldn't be one of them. Illegally parking in spaces reserved for people with disabilities is not only wrong, it's against the law. So please, think twice before pulling into a reserved parking spot. Even if it's just for a minute, it's 60 seconds too long. This has been a public service announcement from United Spinal Association.
Regresando a la escuela, sí tenía miedo, porque yo tenía pensamientos que no sabía si iba a poder hacerlo.
A los 47 años, Marco obtuvo su high school diploma.
Nunca es muy tarde para obtenerlo.
Nadie obtiene un diploma solo. Si estás pensando en obtener tu high school diploma, puedes recibir ayuda. Encuentra clases gratis para adultos cerca de ti en completatudiploma.org. Repito, completatudiploma.org. Presentado por la Dollar General Literacy Foundation y el Ad Council.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
What is dedication?
My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much. From the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night and every moment in between. I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
All right, y'all, welcome back to the Weekly Wrap Up. This is Andy Borelli with the Student Prince and Student Media here at Southern Miss. We're just going to take this little time here to wrap up and let you know what's coming up. Like I said, if you are interested in reading the Student Prince, you can find it in any bin or on different tables in most of the main buildings on campus. You can watch Southern Miss TV or SM2 on our Southern Miss Student Media YouTube channel, where you can also find this video if you're watching it right now. Or you can find our articles here in the paper on our website. I believe it's SM2. I'm not really sure of the link. I don't want to lie to you. But just look up Southern Miss Student Media on Google. It ought to take you to it. I apologize for that one, y'all. But I will say, if you want to good, fun news show. When this is over, go watch that Halloween episode of Southern Miss TV. And also, after we're done here, there will be News You Need coming on the radio. So stay tuned for that. Like I said, I'm Andy Borelli, and this has been the Weekly Wrap Up. Y'all take care, and Southern Miss to the top.
This has been the Southern Miss Student Media Weekly Wrap Up. A look at the events Southern Miss Student Media has covered throughout the week and the events Southern Miss Student Media is working on for next week. The Southern Miss Student Media Weekly Wrap Up airs Fridays at noon on Southern Miss Radio. We'll see you next week for the Southern Miss Student Media Weekly Wrap Up.